Have you ever wondered how a simple gesture can change the course of a lifetime? One night, hidden behind the yellowish lights of a corner restaurant, a young waitress's life was about to cross the path of someone who carried much more than it appeared. At first glance, it seemed just another late client, a common stranger. But behind spent clothes and a tired look, there was a secret that can turn every night that night into a plot of suspense, emotion, and unexpected revelations. The restaurant had no luxury. The walls were marked by discreet cracks, the smell of hot oil mingled with the scent of newly broken coffee, and the wooden tables ranged to the smallest movement. For hasty customers, this was just a stopping point, a momentary refuge against the cold of the city. But for her, that waver of tired eyes and resistant smile, that space represented much more. It was the daily stage of her silent struggle for survival. Your uniform no longer had the shine before. The collar was spent, and the sleeves carried spots that never left, no matter how many times it was washed. Behind that simple apron was a young woman who dreamed of a different life, but who was constantly attached to late accounts, broken promises, and sleepless nights. He carried the weight of supporting herself on his shoulders, not only to herself, but also the hope of a better future. While collecting dishes, she pretended not to hear the complaints of impatient customers. While noting requests, I tried to hide the pain of thinking about how I would pay the rent at the end of the month. And while smiling forcibly inside, he kept a heart marked by losses, responsibilities, and family secrets that made her even more vulnerable. It was late. The restaurant's movement diminished. The chairs were already being stacked in a corner, and the feeling of relief for another shift about to end mingled with the stamped tiredness on his body. It was then that he entered, a seemingly ordinary man, wearing too simple clothes to draw attention, crossed the door as if he carried the world on his back. Her shoes were spent, beard to make, and her eyes, those deep and enigmatic eyes, seemed to reflect a life of hidden battles. He sat in silence, not asking much, as who just sought shelter, not luxury. Still, there was something different about him, something that, unknowingly, would make that night the beginning of a story impossible to forget. The waitress, even exhausted, approached kindly. He put the notebook on the table, waiting for him to say something. And he said, a simple request, almost banal, but accompanied by a serious voice that brought a strange mix of humility and contained power. She didn't know, but at that moment, the fate had already begun to make an unexpected plot, joining her tiredness with his silence. The next few minutes dragged on an almost palpable suspense climate. While he ate slowly, looking around as if he studied every detail, she watched discreetly, intrigued. Who would that man be? Why was there something in your way that seemed so shifted in that humble environment? The answers were not yet clear. But what would happen later would completely change not only the fate of the waitress, but also the perception of everyone around her. Because that night, between cheap dishes and suspicious looks, the truth would begin to reveal itself, and she would never imagine that she was facing someone who hid a life of wealth, family secrets, and choices capable of turning her world upside down. And it was exactly right now, when he finished his meal, that the first turn of the night happened. He finished his meal slowly, as if he wanted to enjoy each piece, but when looking for the pockets, the silence of the night that was already dense became even heavier. His fingers shaved discreetly, passing by, until the truth was evident. He could not pay the bill. The waitress's heart fired. That situation was more common than it should, but it always brought tension. The glances began to cross in the empty hall. Her colleagues whispered at the counter. The manager lifted her head, impatient, and even the few remaining customers looked curious, waiting for the outcome. The man lowered his eyes, embarrassed, and his humble stance contrasted with the hostile mood that was beginning to form around. The waitress knew exactly what she would come next. Hard rebukes, police threats, another scene capable of humiliating someone already injured by life. But something inside her burned, an instinct of compassion that not even her own financial situation could erase. With heavy breath and divided heart, she did something unthinkable. She discreetly removed some crumpled notes from her own pocket and put only Bray the counter. "It's paid," he said firmly, staring at the manager before he could react. Silence broke into murmurs. Some colleagues looked at her with outrage, as if it was going crazy to waste the little he had. Others shook their heads in disbelief, but she didn't care. He knew that somehow that gesture was right. The man raised his eyes slowly, staring at her as if he didn't believe what had just happened. For a few seconds, it seemed, until he wanted to speak, explain, reveal something hidden, but contained. Just muttered a thank you, loaded with emotion, before getting up and walking toward the door. It was right now, watching that strange out with heavy steps and a mysterious look, that the waitress felt something different in the air, as if she had just opened the doors of a much larger destination than she could imagine. And this is where I ask you, if it was you in her place, would I have done the same? Comment down here, what would you do? And if this story has already caught you here, don't forget to leave the like and subscribe to the channel to follow more surprising billionaire stories that hide unimaginable secrets. But the most impressive was yet to come. You already know the moment. The waitress had just paid the bill for a bad stranger, leaving everyone in the restaurant in shock. The man was grateful, but his gaze carried something impossible to decipher. The silence that was after the door was almost suffocating. For days, nothing seemed to change. The waitress routine returned to the same exhaustive pace. Requests, complaints, late accounts. She tried to ignore the comments of her colleagues, who didn't lose the chance to mock her good deed. "Do you really think you'll change the world by paying a beggar's dinner?" muttered one of the waitresses, with a mocking laugh. "Yeah, soon all the hungry in town will be hit, just waiting for your kindness," the manager added, adjusting the apron with disdain. She didn't answer. Inside, it hurt. But there was something that night she couldn't forget, the man's gaze. It wasn't just a look of shame or gratitude. It was a deep look, as if he were testing, watching, measuring her every reaction. A look that seemed to hide secrets. The next nights were cold. The wind crossed the poorly sealed windows of the restaurant, and each client who entered was just another common face, unimportant. Until, a week later, everything changed. It was almost the same time of the night the stranger had appeared. The movement was already weak, and she tidied the tables mechanically when the sound of a car tires caught her attention. It wasn't any car, white headlights, smooth engine, impeccable painting that reflected the streetlights. A luxury vehicle completely displaced in that simple neighborhood. The doors opened slowly, and inside it came out he. But it was not the same man who had come out with his head down days ago. Now it was impeccably dressed. Dark suit well cut, watch sparkling on the wrist, tidy hair as if I had just left an important meeting. His steps were firm, his chin erected. But your eyes, they were the same. The waitress felt her body shudder. For a moment he doubted he was the same person. The difference was absurd, almost impossible. But then he smiled discreetly to her, and there was no doubt. It was him. "Good night," he said, calmly approaching, as if the whole hall were his. "Be boa night," she replied, almost choking. The colleagues looked at her with astonishment. Some dozed off again, trying to understand what happened. The manager, realizing the visitor's grandeur, immediately changed his expression. The disdain gave way to a false, cordial smile. "Welcome, sir. Want our special table?" offered Hurry. The man raised one hand, refusing. "No thanks. I just want to sit down here," and pointed to the same table where he had been sitting last time. The gesture made the waitress's heart accelerate even more. She approached, trying to maintain the composure, and placed the note block before him. "What would you like tonight?" He stared at her deeply before answering. "I want the same dish as before," but this time paid with interest. The phrase fell into the air like a stone in silence. She swallowed dry, not understanding. "With Interest? Exactly. He smiled, but it wasn't any smile. It was full of mystery. Last time you paid for me. Now it's my turn to return. The waitress felt the weight of the words. Something in that situation seemed unusual. It was not just a rich client being educated. There was a game there, a secret hidden between lines. While waiting for the request, he pulled conversation. "Can I know your name?" "Clara," he said hesitantly. "Clara," he repeated, as if they got each syllable, "a name that suits those who illuminate the lives of strangers." She blushed slightly. No, he was used to compliments, much less than someone who had become before his eyes within a few days. I thought it was right to do. Many say that, but few do." He leaned his body forward, fixing his eyes on her. "Would you do the same again?" The question was suspended in the air. Clara felt her heart tighten. He thought of his accounts, the rent, the loneliness he faced every night, but still answered, "Yes, I would." He smiled again, this time with a brightness of approval. "That's exactly what I needed to hear." The manager appeared at this moment with the plate, interrupting the tension. He put the food at the table with exaggerated courtesy, trying to please. But the man hardly paid attention. His eyes remained fixed in Clara. While eating slowly, he spoke naturally. "Did you know that many of the world's greatest fortunes started with a simple gesture?" "No, I didn't know." "So it is. But only those who understand the value of the small gesture can understand the greatness of true power." Clara didn't understand well, but each word seemed to carry a hidden weight, as if there was more than he said. Suddenly he removed a gleaming black card from his pocket and placed him on the table. "This is my card. If one day you need something, call." She looked at the hesitant card. The name recorded in gold letters told him nothing, but it overflowed. Just holding it already gave the feeling that it weighed more than gold. "But why?" he asked, almost whispering. "Because I don't believe in coincidences," he said. "Life crosses paths for a reason." He finished the meal and stood up, straightening the suit. "I'm going back, Clara, and when I come back it will not be just for dinner." And he left, leaving not only a paid account behind him, but a suspense cloud that took over everyone. Clara was paralyzed, with the card between her fingers. The accelerated heart, the mind full of questions. Who was he real? Why had it appeared like that? Like a poor man, and then comes a billionaire in secret? And above all, what did you want with her? That night, lying in her simple bed, she could not sleep. His face, the words, his gaze, everything turned in his mind like an echo. She knew that this meeting was just the beginning, but I had no idea how deep it would fall into that game of secrets, wealth, and hidden emotions. "And you? Would you believe this mysterious man, or would he find it dangerous to trust him? Comment what you think will happen next." Because the real reason for his return was still about to be revealed. Clara couldn't get out of the head the night the mysterious man returned. The black card was resting on her bedside table, shining under the weak lamplight, as if it were a key to a world she never knew. Her heart still accelerated every time she remembered his phrase, "I'm going back, and it will not just be for dinner." For days she thought of calling, but each time I took the phone, an inner voice whispered that it could be dangerous. Who, in their right mind, would first appear like a poor money and the following week would return in a luxury car dressed as a billionaire? It was a puzzle, and riddles, she knew, could change destinations. That rainy night, the restaurant was almost empty. The wind hit the windows, and the thunder made the glass shake. Clara tried to distract herself by cleaning the cutlery, but her mind was far away. Until the door opened. He was back. Different from the last time, it was not alone. 2 black men accompanied him, discreet but visibly attentive to each movement around. He entered with the same calm, calculated, heading at the usual table. Clara felt her breath fail. He approached, trying to control his voice. "Good night. Will you want the usual?" "Yes." The man smiled with that mysterious look before. "But this time I want something more. I want a conversation." Clara choked, but nodded. He took the order and returned to the kitchen. The colleagues whispered with each other. "Is he again?" asked one of the waitresses, peering through the window. "This guy is strange." "Strange nothing," the manager murmured, adjusting the tie. "This is big fish. You can feel by the way you walk." Clara returned with the plate minutes later. He put him on the table, but before he could move away, he gestured for her to feel. "Please sit with me." She hesitated. "I can't. I'm on service." "Of course you can," the manager interrupted a hurry. "Sit down. He is a special customer." The waitress looked at the boss, surprised. It was the first time the manager showed so much understanding. He swallowed hard and sat in front of the stranger. He watched her for long seconds in silence. Then he said, "Clara, have you ever wondered why you did that night?" She stammered. "I just didn't want it to be humiliated in front of and all. I thought it was right." "Right?" He arched his eyebrow. "Many would say it was stupid. After all, you have no money left." She sighed, feeling a knot in her throat. "Maybe it was stupid, but I would do it again." A glow crossed his eyes. "Exactly what I imagined." Clara frowned. "What do you mean by that?" He did not answer immediately. He just took the fork, cut a piece of food, and chewed it slowly. The two men behind remained real estate, observing. The silence was almost unbearable. Finally, he leaned forward. "Clara, that night I was testing people." "Testing?" she repeated, confused. "Yes. I wanted to see how far someone would go for a stranger. Most would have expelled me. Some would have called the police. But you paid." She felt the body shiver. "But why?" He stared at her. "Because I'm not who you think I'm." Her heart shot. The pieces started to fit, but the puzzle was much larger than imagined. Who are you?" he asked, low. He smiled slightly, but before answering, the manager approached, interrupting the tension. "Is everything okay here? Can I bring a special drink?" The disguised billionaire looked up at the manager, cold like ice. "Bring silence. It's just what I want." The man retreated immediately, almost stumbled and returned to the counter. Clara widened her eyes. The way he spoke, firmness in tone. It wasn't just someone with money. It was someone used to being obeyed. He fused her again. "Who I am doesn't matter so much now. What matters is what I want to offer." Clara swallowed dry. "Offer?" He took a thick envelope out of his pocket and placed him on the table. "Inside, there is something that can change your life." She looked at the envelope, but didn't have the courage to open. "Why do I?" He leaned even more, his now low and almost hypnotic voice. "Because you did something that almost no one would do. You acted with empathy, and that kind of person is rare." Clara was astonished. He touched the envelope but hesitated to open it. His fingers trembled. "What happens if I open? You discover a secret, but be prepared. Not all secrets bring peace." She walked away lightly, scared. "This is starting to look dangerous." He looked at her with intensity, and it is. The silence took over the table. The sound of the rain beating the glass seemed louder now, as if the whole world arrested breathing. Finally, Clara said, "I don't know if I should accept it." He smiled, almost pleased with her hesitation. "Think about it. Sometimes what we fear is exactly what we need to face." Before she could answer, one of the men of suit approached discreetly and whispered something in his ear. The billionaire frowned, nodded, and got up. "I need to go, but I will be back. And when I come back, I expect your answer." He left the envelope on the table and left accompanied by his security guards. The luxury car disappeared in the rain, leaving only a disturbing silence behind. Clara looked at the closed envelope. His hands sweated. Inside, there was something capable of changing everything, but also something that could drag it to a dangerous and secret world. His colleagues approached, curious. "What did he give you?" asked one of the waitresses. "Money," risked another. "Is this a contract?" He pressed the manager, trying to peek. Clara squeezed the envelope against her chest. "No one needs to know," and ran to the locker room, hiding it in the bag. That night, alone in her room, she stared at the envelope like a time bomb. I opened it could change everything. Not opening it could leave her forever in the darkness of doubt. With his trembling breath, he began to pull the flap from the paper. But before you could see the content, the phone rang. The number was unknown. She answered hesitantly. "Hello?" The voice on the other side was his. "Clara, it's not time to open." She froze. How do you know I was going?" "I always know. Trust me, Clara, or rather, trust what you felt that night." The connection fell. Clara was paralyzed, the heart on her jumps. The envelope was still intact. The truth remained hidden. But one thing was certain. Nothing in your life would be the same after that connection. And you? Would you open the envelope or wait? Comment what you would do. Because Clara's answer would change everything. Clara held the envelope as if it were forbidden. The call still echoed in his ears. "It's not time to open." That serious, firm, almost authoritarian voice seemed to know her more than she should. It was as if that mysterious man had eyes and ears everywhere. She didn't sleep that night. He rolled on the bed, looking at the ceiling, listening to every crack of the wood like a warning. His mind hammered questions unanswered. Who was he? Why did it appear like this? First Poor, and then Myonian Io. And why write? The envelope remained untouched in the drawer of his dresser, and every time she thought of opening it, she remembered the connection, the voice that asked her confidence. The next morning the restaurant was crowded. It was Saturday, and whole families occupied the tables, children shouted, and the noise of the cutlery mingled with the frying in the kitchen. But to Clara, everything seemed distant. She moved in the automatic, serving dishes, smiling falsely, while her mind was still the night before. It was in the midst of this chaos that the unexpected happened. The restaurant door opened, and he entered again. This time alone. No safety, no luxurious car parked in sight. Only he, in a flawless suit, but with an even more serious look than before. Clara shuddered as she saw him. The manager ran to receive it, flattering as usual. "Lord, what honor to have you here again. Want the usual table?" He ignored the manager completely and walked to Clara. "I need to talk to you. Now." She blinked, surprised, almost dropping the tray she held. "I am working." "I know, but that cannot wait." The manager approached nervously. "Sir, I can arrange a reserved room if you wish." "No." His voice was firm. "It will be right here." Clara took a deep breath. He felt the eyes of his colleagues and customers about himself. A buzz began to spread through the hall, but before he could answer, the man pulled a chair and sat down, lightly hitting the table to do the same. There was something urgent in him, something that made it clear to feel that denying was not an option. With her sweaty hands, she sat before him. He watched her for long seconds in silence. Then he said, "Clara, I need to know. Would you trust me, even without understanding everything?" She stammered, I don't know. You are a complete stranger. One day it appears without money, the other appears as a billionaire. How can I trust? By the way you acted that night." He leaned his body forward. "You didn't know me, but you paid my account. A small gesture for you, but huge for me." Clara lowered her eyes, uncomfortable. "I couldn't let it be humiliated in front of everyone. I've been through this. I know how it hurts." He sighed, and for a moment his strict posture seemed to give in. You have no idea how much it meant. A heavy silence fell between them, until he withdrew something from the inner pocket of the jacket, a small, polished, golden closure box. He put it on the table and slid toward her. "Open." Clara looked at Kaisha as if she was dangerous. "What is that?" "Just open it." His fingers shaved when he pulled his closure. As he lifted the lid, he almost lost his air. Inside was a delicate necklace of pure gold, with a pendant in the form of a tear studded with diamonds. She widened her eyes. This should be worth more than anything I have ever won in my life. He just watched his reaction in silence. But why? She asked, her voice almost a whisper. Because you proved you value people above money, and I want to see how far this unexpected gesture goes. Clara closed the box quickly and pushed her back. I can't accept that. He can, and it should, he said firmly, but not as a gift. Think about it as trust. She shook her head nervously. It makes no sense. He looked at her with intensity. It will do, very soon. The manager, who spied from afar, could not resist and approached with an artificial smile. Can I ask what is happening here? The man turned to him with cold look. What is happening is that your employee is the only person in this place that deserves respect. The manager wronged, not knowing what to answer. Clara became astonished. He looked back at her. Don't refuse, Clara. If you don't want to, keep it for someone important. One day you will understand. She hesitated, but finally closed her hand on the box. I didn't know why I was doing this. Maybe it was the strength of his gaze. Maybe it was because, deep down, something inside her said that man spoke the truth. And then, the unexpected happened. A client in the background, a drunk man, stood abruptly, knocking over his chair. This is absurd, he shouted. Do you think we don't see what's going on? This guy, full of money, wanting to buy the poor waitress as if it were nothing. Everyone turned to look. Clara felt her face catch fire. It's not that, tried to explain. Of course it is. The drunk advanced, staggering. You rich, you think you can play with the life of those who have nothing. Before someone could react, the billionaire stood slowly, imposing. His hard gaze silenced the entire hall. Sit down. His voice was low, but loaded with authority. The drunk man froze. For a second it seemed that something invisible was holding him. He retreated, muttering, and fell in his chair again. The entire restaurant was absolutely silent. Clara looked at him, scared. How did you do it? He took a deep breath. You don't always have to scream to be heard. The tension only increased. Clara felt she was increasingly sinking into a game she didn't understand. But at the same time, I couldn't walk away. He sat back, approaching her. Clara listened carefully. What is happening is not about money. It is about destination. Destiny? She repeated, confused. Yes. His gaze softened. You have no idea who I am, but you will find out. And when you find out, everything will change. She squeezed the box against her chest, her breath fast. I don't know if I'm ready for that. No one is ever. He smiled in his corner. But still it happens. He got up again, setting the jacket. I'm leaving for now. But remember what I said. The unexpected gesture you did that night was just the beginning. Clara remained motionless, looking at him out the door. The whole restaurant still watched him, muttering in low voices, as if he had witnessed something unusual. She knew that from that moment on, nothing more would be the same. That night at home, Clara opened the box again. The glow of the necklace illuminated the dark room. She didn't understand why this man had chosen her. I didn't understand why I felt a mixture of fear and attraction at the same time. But one thing was clear. It was attached to something much bigger than I could imagine. He sat on the bed, holding the pendant hard. What do you want from me? He whispered to the void, and as if it were an answer, your phone vibrated. An unknown message appeared on the screen. It's not time to know yet, but trust the instinct that made her act that night. He'll guide you. Her heart shot. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. I knew the next meeting would be decisive. And you, in place of Clara, would you accept this mysterious gift or return? Comment what it would do, because her decision will change the whole story. Because the true secret behind that gesture was still about to be revealed. Clara didn't sleep that night. The necklace was still resting on his bedside table, but it seemed to be pulsed, as if he had his own life, reminding her of what she couldn't ignore. The enigmatic message on his cell phone, it's not time to know yet. It didn't come out of your mind. The next morning the restaurant looked the same. The smell of newly set coffee, the noise of the plate, the hasty customers. But to Clara, everything had changed. She knew that sooner or later he would come back. And came back. It was late afternoon when the door opened, and the man came in again. The dark suit reflected in low light. The look was even more penetrating. Only this time, it didn't walk rightly to Clara. He sat on a table in the corner, as if waiting for her to go to him. Your heart shot. With cautious steps, he approached. "Good afternoon." He tried to sound firm, but his voice came out. He raised his eyes and stared at her with intensity. "Sit down." She obeyed. Something in it prevented her from counteracting him. A heavy silence settled between the two, until finally he said, "Did you open the necklace?" Clara swallowed hard. "Me? Yes." I couldn't avoid. He didn't seem surprised. He just leaned his hands on the table and said, "That means you're ready to hear what I need to say." She leaned forward. "Who are you anyway? Why do you insist so much on me?" He sighed and stared at nothing for a few seconds, as if seeking courage. "My real name doesn't matter yet, but what matters is that you were the only person who saw me when I decided to disappear from my own world." Clara frowned. "Disappear?" "Yes." He smiled bitterly. "When I met me that day, I was not being tested by anyone but myself. I needed to know if there were still people who can see beyond money." She was silent, trying to absorb every word. "And why do I just? Between so many people, why do I?" He leaned, his eyes shining almost hypnotically. "Because the moment you put your hand on the apron's pocket to pay my bill, without knowing me, you became the only person who didn't want anything in return." Clara looked away nervously. "That doesn't mean I trust you." He smiled slightly. "And I don't expect you to trust. I just hope you hear me." The waiter of the table next door interrupted, leaving dishes on another table. The billionaire waited until the noise diminished and spoke again, with a lower voice, almost a whisper. "There is someone who wants to destroy me, Clara. And if you find out that I approached you, it can be dangerous." She widened her eyes. "Dangerous? What are you talking about?" He looked at her again, seriously. "You need to decide if you will be by my side, even without understanding everything now." Clara felt her stomach turn. It was like being asked her to a world that was not hers. "I'm just a waitress. I have nothing to do with it." "Precisely for that," he countered firmly. "You're not corrupted. It's not part of this game. Therefore, it is the only one I can trust." She took a deep breath. "What if I say, I don't want to get involved?" He wondered it for long seconds and then, surprisingly, smiled in singing. "So I will respect, but know that sometimes not choosing is also a choice." An uncomfortable silence paid. Clara wanted to get up and leave, but something arrested her to that look. "Tell me at least one thing," she asked. "Who is trying to destroy you?" He looked around, making sure no one listened, and then said with a lower voice, "Someone in my own family." Clara became astonished. "Family?" "Yes." He leaned back in his chair. "Money doesn't unite, Clara. He divides, creates enemies within the house itself. And now, my life depends on trusting someone outside." She ran a hand over her hair, restless. "This is crazy. I don't even know you." He leaned his hands on the table, firm. "Then meet me, ask questions, find out who I am. But don't move away now." Clara hesitated. Something in him was true, no matter how insane it seemed. "It's okay," he sighed, "but one thing I need to know. Why did you get the paste?" He stared at her as if that were the most important question. "Because this necklace belonged to the only person who loved me without any interest." She looked at him, surprised. "Who?" He took a deep breath, his voice shaking slightly. "My mom." Clara felt a shiver travel the spine. The necklace, shining in his memory, now gains another weight. It wasn't just jewelry, it was memory, it was pain, it was confidence. I don't know what to say," she murmured. "Don't say anything. Just keep it, because the day you need it will arrive." The watch on the wall was almost 8 at night when the restaurant began to empty. The manager passed them, watching with curious eyes, but did not dare to interrupt. Clara finally said, "What do you expect me to do?" He stared at her with a disturbing calm. "I hope you're ready to hear me when I tell you the truth." She swallowed hard. "And when will this happen?" He stood up, straightening the jacket. "Shortly. But first, I want you to answer something clear. If the truth is bigger than you might think, will you have the courage to stay?" She felt her heart shoot. "I don't know." He leaned slightly, bringing his face closer to hers. "Think of it, because the answer can change not only my life but yours too." When he left, Clara remained at the table, stunned. "I didn't know if I was afraid, curiosity, or something beyond that." The necklace weighed in her pocket like a key to a door she didn't dare to open. That night at home, she looked at the object once again. The brightness of the stones reflected the weak light of the lamp, almost as if the necklace had a voice of its own, calling for it. He took his cell phone and wrote a short message to the unknown number he had sent him before. "I need to understand. Tell me who you really are." The answer came almost immediately. "You'll find out, but not today. Trust me a little more." Clara sighed, frustrated. He was divided between reason and emotion, between fleeing and remaining. But deep down, something in her knew she was already too involved to go back. Outside, standing in the luxurious car, the man watched the bright window of Clara's room. His gaze was hard, but there was sadness there. He murmured to himself, "I can't tell you everything yet. If I knew now, maybe I hated me." And it turned on the engine, disappearing at night. The next morning, Clara returned to the restaurant, but this time something was different. Two men in suit were sitting on a table, watching her too carefully. She felt a cold in her spine. "I didn't know them, but the way they looked, it made it clear that they knew who she was." As she served other tables, one of them got up discreetly and left a note on the counter, where only she could see. Clara took the note with trembling hands. It was written in it, "Be careful who you trust." Her heart shot. From that moment, Clara knew she was in the midst of something much bigger, a game of power, money, and secrets that could change her life forever. And maybe, just perhaps, the most impactful dialogue was yet to come. Clara failed to work properly after the mysterious ticket she had received at the counter. The letters, written in blue, simple but sharp ink, echoed in his mind as an impossible warning to ignore. "Be careful who you trust." She knew it was not coincidence. The tender man had left it on purpose, and that could only be linked to him, to the stranger billionaire who reappeared in his life as an elegant shadow, but loaded with secrets. The rest of the shift was torture. Each client who entered seemed to hide intentions. Every crossed look sounded like a threat. When the night fell and the restaurant closed, Clara came out with hasty steps, as if she expected to be followed at any time. And it was. Across the street, leaning against a luxurious car, he was there. The same man, the same look, but this time something in it seemed darker, heavier. "Clara," he said, lifting her voice just enough for her to hear. "We need to talk." She stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, hesitating. "Did you know I received a note today?" He shot bluntly. "Be careful who you trust." This is what was written. What it means. He stared at her in silence for a few seconds, until he walked away from the car and approaching her. With each step of him, her heart accelerated. "It means the people behind me have realized that you are involved." Clara felt an ice cross her spine. "Involved? I didn't ask for any of that." "I know." He stopped less than a meter from her, looking deep into his eyes. "But when you paid my meal that night, you got into something bigger than you could imagine." She took a deep breath, trying to control the tremor in her voice. "And what exactly is this something bigger?" He sighed, looking away for a moment. Then he fell again, determined. "If I say now, I put you in danger. What I can do is to say goodbye." The word fell like a knife. "Say goodbye?" Clara repeated, astonished. "So that's it? Do you appear, mess with my life, leave me with questions and just go away? The man closed his eyes for a second, as if that also hurt him. I didn't want it to be that way, but it is necessary. Clara took a step forward, the anger mixed with fear. Necessary or coward? Because all you have done so far has been playing enigmatic phrases and disappearing. Who are you really? Why can't you just trust me? He swallowed hard. His voice came out lower, more loaded with emotion. Because if you trust you now, I can lose you forever. Clara felt the floor disappear under her feet. That man, who always seemed so safe, let out a vulnerability for the first time that disarmed her. Then tell me at least one thing, she asked, almost begging. That necklace, what does it really mean? He briefly touched the jacket pocket, as if he remembers something distant. He's not just a memory of my mother. It is also a key, and who finds out that you have it will come after you. Clara retreated, terrified. Key? Key of what? He stared at her with eyes that seemed to beg for forgiveness. The truth. The silence of the street seemed to scream around them. Clara breathed fast, trying to assimilate every word. He reached out, as if to touch her, but hesitated at the last moment. I need to leave clear, and when it is, it may be that I don't come back any time soon. She shook her head, unable to accept. No, you can't just leave me like this. I didn't ask for any of that, but now I'm in the middle. You owe me answers. He gave a little smile, sad. I owe much more than answers. But for now, I can only give you a warning. Don't trust anyone who approaches you from now on. Clara stared at him, feeling the anger grow. Not even in you. He took a deep breath. Especially in me. The words cut deep than any knife. They were stopped for a few seconds, the eyes trapped in each other, as if silence, something that could not be said aloud, until a black car doubled the corner, headlights illuminating the street with intensity. The man turned immediately, the expression changing to alert. They are already here. Clara widened her eyes. Who? He didn't answer. He grabbed her by the arm and pushed her softly back to the shadow of a building. Stay here. Don't say anything. Don't move. But Clara, please. Just trust me this time. The black car stopped in front of the closed restaurant. Two men of suit descended, the same ones that Clara had seen earlier. One of them gave a quick look toward the street, but did not realize that Clara was hidden. The billionaire, that is, who walked to them with firm steps, as if ready to face them. Clara held her breath, her heart hammering in her chest. The conversation between them was too low for her to hear, but the gestures were clear. Threats, intimidation, sharp looks. At one point, one of the men discreetly pointed to the restaurant window, and the strange billionaire shook his head, seriously, as if he were denying something vehemently. Minutes later, the men returned to the car and left, leaving the tension suspended in the air. He returned to Clara, the dark face. Now you understand why I need to go. She could not respond immediately. Only when he already turned to leave, Clara called him. Wait! He stopped without looking back. What is it? Clara swallowed hard, the words coming out like an outburst. If you leave like this, without telling me anything, how do you expect me to trust you? He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath before turning slowly to face her again. Because when I come back, Clara, you'll have all the answers. But you need to be alive there. That was the most enigmatic farewell of his life. No kiss, no touch, no clear promise. Only an abyss of questions and a difficult empty to endure. Clara was alone on the silent street, with the necklace burning in her pocket like a burden. Back in the room, he looked at the object once again. Key of truth, he had said. But truth of what? The cell phone vibrated on your table. An unknown message appeared on the screen. He's not telling you everything. Don't be fooled. Clara felt her heart shoot. Now there was not only one voice, but two, and each asked for their trust. She threw herself on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to hold back the tears. What do I do now? And you, if you were in her place, would continue to trust him or believe in the warning of the strangers? Comment what you would do, because your opinion can reveal more than you think. Because deep down, Clara knew that farewell was not the end. It was just the beginning of something much darker. The days that followed the farewell were too long for Clara. Each morning it was a mixture of anxiety and fear. Each time her cell phone vibrated, she expected to find a message from him. But notifications brought only bank charges, irrelevant promotions, or trivial scraps. None of him. At the restaurant, his co-workers began to notice their distraction. "You head with your head elsewhere, clear?" said Sonia, the countermate. "It seems to wait for someone to enter that door every 5 minutes. Clara tried to disguise. "It's just tiredness. I've been sleeping badly." But it was not tired. It was expectation. With each unknown face that crossed the restaurant, his heart accelerated just to plummet. And then, on an intense rain night when the puddles reflected the yellow lights of the street and the wind whipped the windows, he returned. The door opened slowly. The sound of the bell echoed through the almost empty hall, and there he was. The same impeccable suit, the same intense eyes. But there was something different. A bigger weight on his shoulders, as if he had fought against invisible ghosts since last time. Clara left the tray she carried shaking in her hands. "You came back." He approached slowly, each step echoing in the silence of the restaurant. "I said I would come back." Those simple words were enough to make her heart to fire, but at the same time, they aroused all the contained anger of the last days. "You made me full of questions," Clara exploded, forgetting where she was from. "He left saying I couldn't even trust you, and then add as if nothing had happened. Do you have any idea what this did to me?" He took a deep breath, accepting the weight of the accusation. "I know, Clara, and I blame myself for that. But I needed to make sure you would not be followed." She laughed, bitter. "Follow? I received another ticket, another anonymous warning. Do you know what it is to live in fear that someone will appear on my door any time?" He approached, the low but firm voice. "And that's exactly why I came back, because you are in danger and I can't let it happen." Clara stared at him, her teary eyes, not knowing whether she believed or shouted. "Then tell me the truth at once. Who are these people? What do you want from you and me?" He hesitated, as if he struggled against an internal decision. "If I tell you everything now clear, you can hate me." "So hate me," she replied. "But at least give me the right to choose, knowing the truth." The silence between them was cut only by the thunder that shook the windows. He closed his eyes for a moment and then said, "Very good, but not here." He asked her to leave with him. The manager, who watched the scene with a disguised curiosity, raised his eyebrow but said nothing. Clara, hesitant, took her coat and followed the man to the car parked across the street. Inside the vehicle, the leather smell mixed with his discreet perfume. The rain drummed on the ceiling, creating a claustrophobic climate. "We're alone now," he said, staring at her. "And you deserve answers." Clara stared at him, her nervous fingers pressing the coat bar. "So talk." He took a deep breath. "I'm not just a rich man, clear. I am heir to an empire, but this empire was built on secrets and betrayals." She frowned. "Secrets? My father was not just a successful entrepreneur. He got involved with dangerous people, people who were part of the construction of our fortune. And now, with him out of the scene, these men want to get me out of the way." Clara sent a shiver. "And what do I have to do with it?" He lowered his voice. "Because when you paid my meal that night, they realized that I was testing who could still be reliable, and you proved to be the only one who had no interest in my money. It made you valuable." "Valuable?" Clara repeated, almost laughing. "I'm just a waitress." "Precisely," he countered firmly. "You are invisible to their world, and that is what makes you dangerous to them and precious to me." Clara shook her head incredulously. "This is crazy." "You are saying that because I did something so simple. Now I'm in the middle of a game that is not mine." Exactly that, he confirmed, with his gaze loaded with sincerity. She took a deep breath, trying to soothe. So why come back? If it's so dangerous, why not just move away for good? He hesitated. And then, as if he could no longer hold, he said firmly, "Because I couldn't stay away from you." The words fell between them, as a lightning. Clara felt her heart jump, but tried to contain herself. "You can't mix things like that. This is not a romance game. I need security, not confessions." He smiled bitterly. "I know, but I can't deny what I feel, and I know that somehow you feel too." Clara looked away, flushed and annoyed at the same time. "Don't mix my emotions with your secrets." "Your emotions are the reason I am here," he replied. "If it wasn't for you, I would have left for good." The silence stretched. Outside, the rain diminished, but the tension inside the car only increased. Clara finally broke the silence. "You said I run danger. Who exactly threatens me?" He squeezed the steering wheel, the expression loaded. "People from my own family." Clara widened her eyes. "Family?" "Yes," he confirmed. "One of them believes you already know too much, and that's why I need to decide now. If I keep you close, or if I say goodbye for good." She swallowed hard. "Farewell again?" He looked at her deeply. "This time, it can be forever." Clara felt a knot in her throat. "You can't drag me to the middle of it and then discard me when you want. My life matters too." He reached out, almost touching hers, but stopped a few inches. "It's precisely because your life matters that I think of leaving you." The tears threatened to drain from her eyes. But Clara took a deep breath and, with the courage I didn't even know, replied, "No, you don't decide it alone. If I will be dangerous, I want to be able to choose to be or not." His gaze softened. For the first time it seemed to see Clara not as a piece in a board, but as someone with their own strength. "You are right," he admitted. "But if you stay, you will have to hear truths that can change everything." "Then say," Clara challenged. "I'm no longer afraid." He opened his mouth, ready to start, but his cell phone vibrated in his pocket. He took the device, and the expression on his face immediately changed. Tension, urgency, almost despair. "We need to go, now!" "Go? Where?" He turned on the car and accelerated down the wet street, dodging puddles and red headlights. Clara held on the panel, scared. "Tell me what's going on." He squeezed the steering wheel, his eyes fixed on the road. "They found where you live." Clara felt the blood freezing. "Like this?" "We don't have time," he replied. "Just trust me for a little longer." She breathed fast. Her heart shot while the city's lights were blurred through the window. And at that moment, an inevitable question burned inside her. Was trusting him really the right choice? Or was the anonymous ticket right from the beginning? If it were you, would you trust him right now or try to escape on his own? Comment what you would do, because your opinion can reveal more about the course of this story. Because his unexpected return was not the end of the distance between them. It was just the beginning of something much more dangerous. The car advanced quickly through the city's wet streets. Clara held the bench firmly, trying to keep her breath constant as she tried to absorb every word he had said. Her mind spinned in circles. Dangerous family, secrets, anonymous tickets, and now the direct threat to her own life. "Why didn't you tell me that before?" he asked, his voice tense. "Why did you get me all this time in the dark?" He did not respond immediately. "I just drove," the fixed look ahead, concentrated each tense muscle. Finally, after a few minutes of silence, he said, "Because you couldn't know yet. The truth needed a time to be revealed. And, more importantly, you needed to prove that you could trust me." Clara swallowed hard. "Trust? Do you think it's that simple? After all that happened, I don't even know who to believe anymore." He took a deep breath and looked away from the road for a second to face it. "I know. And that's precisely why I'm about to show you something that will change everything you think about me." Clara felt a cold climb through the spine. Change everything. How? He lightly squeezed her hand, but not for affection. It was almost a protective, insistent gesture. Pay attention. You need to understand who I really am. The car made a sudden curve, and Clara held the seat hard. I'm listening. He stopped the vehicle in an underground parking lot, away from the main streets. The darkness and echo of the wind through the metal bars created a heavy, almost suffocating mood. This is safe, for now. He hung up the car and turned to her. Now, Clara, are you ready? She swallowed hard, taking a deep breath. I am. He pulled something from the inner pocket of the jacket, a slight leather case, discreet, but with a metallic glow that drew attention. This is part of what you need to see. Clara frowned. A case? For what? He slowly opened the object, revealing a thin facial mask of impeccable finish. A mask? Yes, he nodded. You didn't know, but the first time you saw me, I was in disguise. Everything in that restaurant was part of a test. Clara felt the world turn. A test? Were you testing me? He nodded, his serious eyes. Exactly. And you passed. She retreated, confused and outraged. This is crazy. So all those conversations, all the stories, everything, was it a game? Not a game, he countered firmly. A proof of character. I needed to know if you were reliable. If it had been for interest in the money, you would have done nothing. Clara took a deep breath, trying to digest the information. So, aren't you who I thought it was? He sighed. I never went, at least not the way it seemed. The metallic mask gleams under the weak light of the parking lot. He took her carefully and began to remove her from her face. Each movement carried tension and care. Clara felt her heart accelerate with a mixture of fear and curiosity. When the mask finally fell into the bench next door, she looked at his face. The expression was familiar, but there was something different, as if that face were the true identity she had never known. This is me real, he said, the low voice, almost vulnerable. All you saw before was just a reflection, a shadow. Clara swallowed hard. Is it real? Absolutely, he answered. And that's why you need you to understand. Nothing that happened so far was by chance. Every word, every gesture, every silence was calculated. She felt a mixture of anger and relief. Calculated, so I was manipulated. Not manipulated, guided, he corrected. You didn't know, but every step of you determined my next movement. Clara looked away, feeling a twinge of vulnerability. That's too much. I don't know if I can handle it all. He approached, his eyes fixed on hers. I won't lie. What is to come is dangerous. But you are the only person I can trust to cross this with me. She swallowed hard. What if I don't want to? He took a deep breath. So, you move away, but know that once the truth is revealed, nothing will be the same. The silence took over the car. Only the distant sound of cars passing the parking lot echoed. Clara felt that every extended second increased tension, as if something about to explode was contained by a wire. Tell me, she finally murmured, why necklace? What does he have to do with all this? He looked at the necklace stored in his pocket. The necklace is more than a memory. It is a symbol, a marker. He indicates who can be reliable and who cannot. And now, you are the only person who has it outside my family. Clara felt the weight of responsibility squeeze her chest. So, am I a piece on this board too? He shook his head. No, you are the key. The necklace is the key, but you are the only one who can use it correctly. I don't understand anything, she whispered, confused and scared. You're part of a powerful family with secrets and enemies, and I'm just a waitress. Precisely for that, he answered. You are not suspicious. You have no hidden interests, and that is what makes you essential to me. Clara felt her tears forming in her eyes. I never asked for any of this. Neither me, he admitted, but sometimes fate chooses for us. She took a deep breath, trying to assimilate every word. So what do you want me to do? He leaned forward, his eyes fixed on hers. I want you to trust me. I want you to follow me. And I want you to be prepared for the truth that will still be revealed. Clara took a deep breath, holding the tight necklace in her hand. What if I can't? So, you move away. But know that the decision to stay can change our lives forever. His phone vibrated again. He looked at the screen and scowled. They are approaching. Your voice was tense. We need to get out of here now. Clara felt her heart shoot, the adrenaline running through her veins. Where are we going? For a safe place, he answered. But you need to promise you won't question anything there. She took a deep breath. I promise. For now. When they left the parking lot, Clara looked at him once more, trying to record every detail of that face that was finally true. Each gesture, each expression now carried the intensity of someone who had gone through dangers she didn't even imagine. You'll tell me all this one day, don't you? She asked with a mixture of fear and curiosity. He smiled slightly. One day, but not yet. The secret needs to be revealed at the right time. She nodded, holding the necklace firmly against her chest. So I'll trust it. For now. He looked at her, and for a moment the vulnerability in his eyes mixed with the determination. You'll do the same thing I did at that restaurant, even without understanding everything. Clara closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. Yes, I would do the same. The car accelerated through the dark city, disappearing in the wet streets. The storm was beginning to decrease, but the tension between them only increased. Each kilometer traveled was a preparation for something greater, something that would change everything that Clara thought about him, his family, and the world she didn't even know existed. And you, if you were in her place, would you trust him even knowing that the truth is still hidden? Comment what you would do, because your choices could change the course of this story. Because the revelation of the disguise was just the beginning. The real secret, the one who could shake everything, was yet to come. The car advanced through the silent city, Clara holding the necklace with strength, the heart fired and the mind in whirlwind. Each red lighthouse, each reflection on the wet puddle of the street seemed to amplify the intensity of the moment. She knew she was not just accompanying the man in an elegant suit. He was entering a completely different world from his, a world of secrets, betrayals, and decisions that could cost lives. I need you to tell me, Clara started, the trembling voice. What will happen now? I can no longer live in this expectation. He looked away from the road for a moment, his eyes fixed on her. I wish I could give you clear answers, but some truths need to be discovered gradually. Otherwise, they can be destructive. She took a deep breath. Destructive? As? He lightly squeezed the steering wheel, and the tension increased. You know there is a powerful family, full of dark interests and internal enemies. I'm not just an heir. I am a target. And now, you are too. Clara felt her chest squeeze. Why me? I have nothing to do with it. Precisely for that, he answered firmly. You are not suspicious. No one would think you could have an influence on what happens to me. This is what makes you so valuable and dangerous to them. She looked away, trying to absorb every word, but felt a twinge of anger. Dangerous? Are you telling me that I was dragged to the middle of a war by chance? Not by chance, he replied, his eyes fixed on hers. By choice and by confidence. Clara swallowed hard. Trust? You talk about trusting like it was easy, but I'm terrified. He sighed, softening the tone. I know. And I should never have put you in this position without warning. But now that you know, we can't go back. The car entered a deserted road where the lights of the city did not arrive, and the silence was only broken by the sound of the rain beating the ceiling. Clara felt the tension increased, as if every kilometer traveled to an inevitable destination. Then tell me, she whispered, what exactly do you want me to do? He looked at her for a moment, the intense and deep look. I want you to stay with me. I want you to help me face this, but mostly I want you to trust me when everything seems impossible. Clara felt her heart shoot, but also her anger. Confidence. Do you want me to trust you, even after all you did to confuse me? Even after endangering me? He took a deep breath, as if each word were measured. I know, but trust me this time, please. She felt the tension dissolve a little, but still doubt was running as fire in her veins. "What if I say no?" He stared at her, really. "So, you move away, but know that if you stay, nothing will be like before." Clara took a deep breath, holding the necklace against her chest. "So I stay, but not for you, for me, not to regret later." He smiled slightly, relieved, but the tension on his shoulders remained. "This is enough for now." The trip continued in silence for a few minutes, until he finally spoke again. "I need to tell you something about the necklace." Clara frowned. "Now?" "Yes," he answered. "The necklace is not just a confidence symbol. It also contains vital information about my family, who is trying to destroy me, and the very fortune they vie." She felt her stomach tighten. "Information. Like this. Each stone represents a data, a track, and those who have it outside the family can discover these clues so that no one else could." He looked at her fixedly. "That's why it's so important that you stay with me." Clara swallowed hard. "What if I don't understand how to use it?" He smiled bitterly. "You will learn, and the first lesson begins now." He took the necklace out of his pocket and passed it to her, his fingers slightly trembling. "Touch him. Feel. Every detail has meaning." Clara held the necklace, feeling her real and symbolic weight. There was something magical and at the same time scary. "It's just a necklace. I can't see anything beyond that." He leaned, talking almost secretly. "It's not just a necklace, clear. It is the key to everything, the key to understanding the traitors, to find out who wants my fall, and to protect who you love, if you choose to stay." She took a deep breath, trying to absorb every word. "So my life has changed forever, isn't it?" He nodded. "Yes, but you also got the opportunity to change the course of everything." Clara felt the emotion squeeze her chest. Anger, fear, curiosity, and a strange determination mingled inside her. "So I have to decide now. Trust or escape?" He held his hand lightly. "Trust. Just this time." They continued driving along the deserted road. Each kilometer traveled seemed to intensify the mood of suspense. Clara watched every movement, every expression, trying to decipher who was really in front of him. She knew she was dealing with someone powerful, someone who can manipulate situations, but also vulnerable in a way that no one had shown before. "Are you afraid?" she asked suddenly. He took a deep breath. "Yes, fear of losing you, failing, of putting you in danger, but also hope. Hope you stay and we can face everything together." Clara looked at him, surprised. "Hope? Do you feel it for me?" He nodded, his voice low and loaded with emotion. "Yes, but not just for you. For the first time, someone outside my family really understands me." She felt her heart accelerate, but also the tension grow. "This is a lot. I don't know if I can handle it all." He took a deep breath. "You don't have to deal with yourself. I will be here, but you need to be ready to face the truth when it comes." Clara squeezed the necklace, feeling the weight of her responsibility. "So tell me, what comes first? The secrets of your family or the enemies that pursue us?" He looked away for a thoughtful moment. "First, we need to understand who is reliable and who is a traitor. Then we can deal with the enemies. And you, Clara, will be essential in this process." She felt the adrenaline run through her body. Every word of it increased tension, but also the determination of not retreating. "Then teach me. Show me how to use the necklace, how to decipher the clues." He smiled lightly. "All in time. The first lesson is to trust itself. The second you will find out very soon." Clara took a deep breath, trying to process every word, every emotion. "So we're together in this, don't we?" He nodded firmly. "Together. But every step we give can be decisive. Every choice of yours and mine will be decisive for what comes next." The car went into a closed turn and Clara felt the physical tension increased. But this time, it was not pure fear. There was also excitement, the feeling of being on the threshold of something that could change your life forever. "Are you going to protect me?" she asked, her voice low. He looked at her in the eyes, intense and sincere. always. But I also need you to help me protect me. This is the only way to win." She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of each word. Then, "I trust. For now." He nodded, as if that were the beginning of something bigger. "For now, it's enough. But get ready. Clear. Because the true turn is about to happen." The car disappeared into the rainy night, taking two intertwined destinations: a man of secrets and a young woman who would never imagine her life would change so much in such a short time. And you, if you were in her place, would you trust him even without knowing the whole truth? Comment what you would do, because your decision can change the course of the story. Because the emotional turn is not the end. It is just the preparation for final revelation, where all secrets will be exposed and nothing more will be as before. The car advanced along the deserted road, illuminated only by the headlights that cut the rainy night. Clara squeezed the necklace against her chest, feeling every detail of him, as if she could translate the hidden meaning that the man in front of him could not completely reveal. Every kilometer traveled seemed loaded with tension. The silence between them was not comfortable, but electric, loaded with expectation and fear of what was yet to come. "I need to understand one thing," Clara said, finally breaking the heavy silence. "If all this is about confidence, why do I still feel something you are hiding from me?" He looked away from the road and stared at her with intensity, the dark eyes reflecting the diffuse light of the headlights. "Because there is. Not everything can be revealed at once. Some secrets need to be kept so far until you understand your true role in this." "Paper?" Clara repeated, her voice firmly, though the tension trembled on the tip of her tongue. "I'm not just a piece on this board, right?" He sighed, his voice low and loaded with emotion. "You are more than one piece, clear. You are the key to all mysteries surrounding my family and, most importantly, for my own survival. But at the same time, this key can open doors that you may not be ready to cross." Clara felt a shiver travel the spine. "So everything that happened so far was a preparation for this?" "Exactly." He nodded, firm, but with a slight vulnerability trace. "Every gesture of mine, every moment we spent together, everything was calculated for you to prove reliable and brave." She tightened the necklace even more, feeling the real and symbolic weight of it. "What if I fail?" "You won't fail," he said, his voice firm. "But even if that happens, it's not your fault. You have been chosen for your courage and integrity, qualities that few have." Clara looked at him, the emotions in conflict: anger, fear, curiosity, and something she didn't want to admit, attraction and admiration, mingled in her heart. "So you're not just a mysterious man with secrets?" she asked. "You're someone who needs me to survive. And I never imagined it would be part of something so big." He smiled lightly, almost without humor. "And that's why I'm here. Because you are not just part of something big, you are essential." The car went into a closed turn, and Clara felt her body pushed against the bench. Adrenaline ran through the veins, and she realized that she was not just following him physically, but emotionally. Each word, each gesture, increased the intensity of the bond between them. "Then tell me," she started hesitantly, "what comes now? What is the next step in this story that has changed my life completely?" He took a deep breath, looking forward, as if seeking courage. "The next step is the revelation of all the secrets surrounding my family and the true reason why you were chosen to be by my side." Clara felt her heart shoot. "Revelation? All the secrets?" "Yes," he confirmed, his eyes fixed on the road. "But it won't be easy, nor safe, and you need to decide if you are prepared for it." She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to control the fear that climbed through her throat. "I'm ready, for you and for me." He looked away from her and took a deep breath. "So let's start, but you need to promise you will hear every detail, even if it is painful." "I promise," Clara answered firmly. The car curved and entered a narrow path, flanked by tall trees that filtered the moonlight. The environment seemed isolated from the rest of the world, as if they were about to enter another universe, a space where normal rules did not apply. "First thing you need to know," he started, the low voice, "is that my family is not just powerful, it's dangerous. Some members want to control everything, others just preserve what we inherit, and there are those who don't care about others' lives to achieve their goals." Clara felt her stomach tighten. "So, am I in the middle of a war?" "Yes," he nodded, "but not any war. A war of secrets, betrayals, and power. And you are here not by accident, but because you showed that you have courage and discernment." She took a deep breath, trying to process every word. "What if anyone finds out about the necklace?" He frowned, really. "So everything can be lost. This is why he is so important. Contains vital information, coded so that only someone of trust can interpret. And you, Clara, are that person." Clara looked at him, the tension mixed with a strange feeling of purpose. "So, my life has changed forever, isn't it?" "Yes," he confirmed. "But it also gained the opportunity to directly influence the fate of all of us." She squeezed the necklace tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility. "What if I fail?" He held her hand firmly. "You won't fail. But even if something happens, what matters is that you are willing to face the truth." Silence settled again, heavy and meaningful. Clara could only hear his breath, the rain beating the sea rice, and the accelerated rhythm of your own heart. "I don't know if I'm ready for all this," she said finally, her voice shaky, "but I know I can't go back." "Then you are ready for what comes next," he said, his eyes fixed on the road. The complete truth. Clara took a deep breath, feeling every emotion exploded inside her. Anger, fear, curiosity, and a strange determination mingled. She knew that from that moment there would be no return. "Let's do it together," she said, determined. He nodded, a small smile of relief appearing on his face. "Together. But every step we go from now on will be decisive. Each choice, every action, every word can change everything." The car entered an even more isolated road. Clara held the necklace, feeling like she was carrying not just an object, but an entire destination in her hands. "So tell me," she started, hesitant, "if all this is about trusting and facing secrets, why did you come back for me?" He took a deep breath, his eyes fixed ahead. "Because you showed me something no one else showed. Courage, honesty, and the ability to do what is right even without expecting reward. And that..." He looked away for her for a moment. "This is something no one in my family has ever had." Clara felt her heart shoot. "So you trust me?" "I trust," he said firmly. "And that's why you're here, and that's why we need to continue together." She took a deep breath, absorbing each word. "So let's face everything. But promise me one thing." She looked straight into his eyes, "that there will be no more secrets, at least between us." He smiled slightly but seriously. "I promise that when it is safe, there will be no more secrets. But until then, we need to be cautious." The car accelerated the deserted road, disappearing in the darkness of the night, taking two intertwined destinations: a man loaded with secrets and a young woman who would never imagine that her life would change so much in such a short time. And you, if you were in her place, trust him even though he knows that there are even more secrets to reveal. Comment what you would do, because your choices can change the course of this story. Because this impact closure is just the beginning of the last phase, where the big final turn and all secrets will finally be revealed. The silence of the mansion was heavy, almost suffocating. Clara entered by him, still holding the necklace, feeling the weight of responsibility in every inch of his body. He drove her carefully, as if each step could trigger something unpredictable. "We're almost there," he said, the low voice loaded with tension. "When you open this door, everything you knew about my family and about me will change." Clara took a deep breath, trying to prepare her heart for what she was about to find out. "I'm ready," he murmured, though anxiety shook on the tip of his voice. He stopped before a solid wood door, decorated with gold details. With a slow gesture, he pushed the door. The light of the hall revealed a large room with old furniture, family paintings, and in the center, a bright glass box, inside which resting something that made the heart of Clara stop for a moment. "What?" she started, but he raised his hand. "Everything will be explained now," he said, really. "This necklace you carry, it's not just a confidence symbol. It contains information that reveals who within my own family planned my fall and who was always loyal." Clara looked at the necklace, then to him. "But how is this possible?" "My father left me clues," he continued. "Each stone represents a decision, a secret, a traitor or ally. When you helped me in that restaurant, unknowingly showed it was reliable. You are the only out of the family that can decipher these clues." Her heart shot. "So everything that happened, was it to test me?" "Exactly," he nodded. "And now you know the truth. I was never just the stranger you met that night. I am the heir to an empire, but also the target of betrayals that come from inside my own family." Clara felt the impact of revelation. Everything made sense now. His attention, the silent test, the mysterious gestures. But there was something else, something that made her swallow hard. "So you came back to me, as a billionaire disguised, to protect me and to see if I would be reliable." He approached, fixed eyes on hers. "Yes, and not just trustworthy, worthy of being by my side." She swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of fear, emotion, and strange admiration. "So all this, my whole life so far, has changed in a single night." "Exactly," he said, his voice loaded with emotion. "But that's just the beginning. What you decide now can save or destroy everything." She looked at him, holding the necklace hard, feeling that their fate depended on that moment. I trust you and—" He smiled, but there were tears in his eyes. "And that's why we can win. Together." The next moment, Clara understood. The secrets, the necklace, the tests, everything had a greater purpose. It was not just about wealth or power. It was about confidence, courage, and choices that define the life of a person and an entire family. She took a deep breath, and at that moment she knew that despite the fear, tension, and dangers, she had made the right choice. "Would you do the same?" he asked softly, knowing that her answer defined everything. "I would," Clara answered, with conviction. And so, between the soft light of the room and the weight of the revealed secrets, they took the first steps of a new era, together, knowing that the past was just the prelude of the future that could build side by side. If you believe in second chances and the power of confidence, comment, "I believe in second chances." Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss the next recommended video on the screen, full of drama, secrets, and billionaires.